Welcome to This Day in His Story, created by American Heritage Worldwide, a reminder that every day holds something new to learn. Did you know that the first pedestrian crossing sign was a hand-shaped signal that said, "Don't walk"? Cross the street safely as you realize that many crosswalk buttons don't change the light, but instead are controlled by computers. Learn that placebo buttons are installed to make you feel you have control.
I want to start with a feeling. I think it's a feeling that is just, burned into the muscle memory of every single person listening.
Okay.
You're at a busy corner, it's loud, you're late, and you see that yellow pole with the little silver button, and you press it. Nothing. You wait a few seconds, press it again, and then, the anxiety just kicks in. You start hammering it, just mashing it like you're trying to signal the traffic gods.
The beg button rhythm. It's a very specific kind of urban desperation, isn't it?
Beg button. It's such a derogatory term, but it feels so right. And the question that's always in the back of my head is, am I actually doing anything?
Right.
Or am I just, a rat in a cage pressing a lever because it makes me feel like I have some control?
It's funny you put it that way, because the answer to that question is not a simple yes or no. It really opens up this whole rabbit hole of history and engineering and even psychology.
So we're going to get to that, the
Yes.
truth about the button.
Oh yeah, we're definitely getting to the truth. And spoiler, it's way more complicated than just a wire hooked up to a light bulb. But to understand the button, we first have to understand why we're even stuck on that corner to begin with.
Right. So today we are doing a deep dive into the history of the pedestrian crossing. And I have to admit, when I was going through the research, I thought it would be, a dry history of traffic lights.
It's not.
Not at all. It's a story about social engineering.
Yeah.
It feels like this 100-year-long turf war between people and machines.
That's a really good way to put it, because the progression from the early 1900s to today, it's not just about safety tech. It's a story about who owns public space.
The street itself.
Exactly. We went from streets being this chaotic commons where everyone just sort of mixed, to these highly regulated channels designed for cars first and people second.
And that shift was, it was engineered. It wasn't an accident.
Not in the slightest.
Okay, so let's start with a really specific moment. The "Don't Walk" sign. We take it for granted now, but there was a moment it was invented, and the design was surprisingly aggressive.
You're talking about New York City, 1952.
February 5th, 1952, the birthday of the modern pedestrian signal. But what I found in the archives wasn't just that they put up a light, it was the imagery they chose. It was a neon hand.
A neon hand is so visceral. You have to think about the context. Before that, in most places, people just followed the car signals.
So green for the Buick was green for you.
Right. But the problem was turning traffic. Cars were getting faster, there were more of them, and people were dying. The death rates were climbing.
So the hand wasn't just a friendly suggestion.
No, it was a desperate command. It was meant to cut through all the visual noise of the city. A giant neon hand is personal. It's the city itself putting its palm up and saying, "Do not step off this curb."
It's basically segregating the intersection. This space for cars, this time for people.
It was a whole new way of thinking. Pedestrians couldn't just coexist anymore. They had to be managed like a whole different species of traffic.
But 1952 is actually pretty late in the game, isn't it? I mean, cars had been on the road for decades. What was it like trying to cross the street back in, say, 1914?
Oh, 1914 is the pivotal year. That's Cleveland, Ohio, the first electric traffic signal.
But we have to be really clear what that means. It wasn't a computer.
Not even close. It was a policeman sitting in a booth with a switchboard.
And a buzzer. I couldn't get over the buzzer detail.
The buzzer is key, because we have a standardized visual language now, red, green, yellow. They didn't have that. So the cop would hit this loud buzzer to warn everyone, cars and people, that things were about to change.
Just imagine the noise. Horses, early engines backfiring, and then this huge buzzer going off.
And as a pedestrian, you weren't just waiting on the sidewalk. The reports from back then, they described people getting trapped in the middle of the street, dodging traffic.
There was that phrase from the 1930s that I loved. Jumping the amber.
Yeah.
It sounds like a dance move, but it's actually just terrifying.
It's what we'd call running the yellow light. But back then, the timing wasn't set for a person's walking speed. So you get halfway across, the light changes, the cars jump the amber, and suddenly you're an island in a sea of moving metal.
It just shows the whole system was built for the machines. The human was an afterthought. I read this one quote from a 1934 study that described the pedestrian waiting first on one foot and then on the other. It's just such a human, impatient image.
And that impatience is really where the conflict started. You have people who are used to walking anywhere they want, suddenly being told to wait for a machine, and they did not want to wait.
Which brings us to what might be the most successful propaganda campaign in the history of the American street.
The invention of the jaywalker.
Exactly. Most people know jaywalking is, a minor crime. You can get a ticket. But the word itself, the etymology, is just a straight-up insult.
It's a slur. That's the best way to describe it. In the early 1900s, a jay was slang for a rube, a country bumpkin, someone who didn't know how to act in the big city.
So calling someone a jaywalker was like calling them an idiot?
It was worse. It was calling them socially inferior. But here's the detail that most people miss. The term jay driver came first.
No way.
Yes. Around 1905, newspapers used jay driver to make fun of people who drove badly. People driving on the wrong side of the road, that kind of thing.
So the shame was originally on the incompetent driver.
That's it. Public opinion was against the car. They were seen as these dangerous machines invading the city. If you hit someone, it was your fault. But the auto industry, the manufacturers, the local auto clubs, they knew this was a huge problem for their business.
The liability.
The liability would have killed them. They had to shift the blame.
So they flipped the script. They invented the jaywalker.
And it was a coordinated, aggressive campaign. I was reading the notes on the 1913 campaign in Tacoma, Washington. The language they used is found. It's honestly shocking.
They didn't say, let's educate people.
No. The local automobile club said their goal was to, and this is a direct quote, exterminate the jaywalker family.
Exterminate.
Exterminate. It frames the pedestrian as a pest, something to be removed.
And they had Boy Scouts handing out cards, shaming people on the street. They created these cartoon characters, Mr. and Mrs. Jaywalker, and just ridiculed them publicly.
Think about what that does psychologically. For centuries, the street is a public square, a playground. Then all of a sudden, you step off the curb and a kid hands you a card calling you a hick who doesn't get how the modern world works.
It was a brilliant and ruthless way to shame people back onto the sidewalk.
And it worked. We basically gave up the street, we accepted that the road belongs to the car, and we are just guests who have to ask permission to cross.
It wasn't a total victory for them, though, was it? I saw a National Safety Council report from 1937.
Ah, yes. Where they basically admit defeat in some cities. They said that stop-and-go signals, they just weren't practical and you couldn't impose them on pedestrians.
I love that. It's like the engineers just threw up their hands and said, yeah, people are going to be people. If the road is clear, you're going to walk.
Which brings us right back to today and to that buttoner.
The placebo button. Let's get into it. Is it actually true that most of those buttons are fake?
It is largely true, especially in big, dense cities. But it's not because the city is just being lazy. It's about how modern traffic control works.
It's all connected in a grid.
Exactly. It's called coordination. The goal is to create a green wave, so a whole platoon of cars can move through several intersections without stopping. It cuts down on pollution and gridlock.
So if I'm in a corner and I press the button to stop all that traffic,
the system would just ignore you, because if it stopped for you instantly, it could cause a traffic jam that backs up for 20 blocks. The master computer has already decided when that walk signal is coming on, based on the time of day and traffic flow.
So my thumb has zero power.
In that situation, during peak hours, yes. Your request is noted, but it doesn't change the timing. The light was already going to change for you.
So why is the button even there? Why not just put up a sign that says, signal is automatic?
Because of the psychology of waiting. This is the placebo part. Studies show that our perceived wait time is way longer than the actual wait time.
Sure, it feels like an eternity.
60 seconds of doing nothing feels like 5 minutes. You get agitated, you might take a risk, you might
jump the amber on foot.
Exactly. But if I give you a button to press, you've done something. You've placed your order. It creates a sense of agency.
An illusion of control.
An illusion of control. And even if that button isn't connected to anything that speeds up the light, the simple act of pressing it makes you more patient. It keeps you on the curb.
That is unbelievably manipulative. It's safety through deception. The button isn't controlling the light, it's controlling me.
It's managing your expectations. And, it works.
It makes you wonder what else in the city is just a fidget spinner for adults to keep us from losing our minds.
Probably more than we want to know. But there is another side to this. We can't just dismiss these signals as manipulation. For some people, they're an absolute lifeline.
Right. We have to talk about accessibility. Because while I'm complaining about the button not working for me, for someone who is visually impaired, that button is everything.
Precisely. That's where the term beg button starts to feel really unfair. Modern, accessible pedestrian signals, the ones that chirp or vibrate, they're essential.
They give you information.
More than just go or stop, they tell you which direction is safe to cross. They can even have a locator tone, that little ticking sound.
Right, I've heard that.
That sound helps someone who is blind find the button in the first place. So while you, a sighted person, are just pressing it out of habit, someone else is relying on the information it gives them to cross the street without getting killed.
That's a huge perspective shift. It changes the whole conversation from efficiency to inclusion.
It has to. And that idea of safety for everyone, it actually connects to something really unexpected I found in the sources.
Don't tell me the Bible verse.
The Bible verse. Deuteronomy 33.1. The beloved of the Lord shall dwell in safety by him.
It felt so out of place next to all these diagrams of induction loops. Why do you think that was in a report on traffic safety?
I think it gets at the moral core of what those early engineers were trying to do. They were dealing with a massacre. People were dying in horrible ways. This wasn't just a technical problem for them. It was a moral one.
It makes safety a bigger concept. It's not just about not getting hit. It's about a right to exist in a public space without fear.
To dwell in safety, it implies a state of being. And when you're standing on that curb and cars are flying past you, you are incredibly vulnerable. You're soft tissue in a world of steel.
And you're looking for a sign, literally.
You're looking for assurance. Whether it's a neon hand or a chirping speaker, you need to know that for a brief moment, the chaos will be held back just for you.
So it all connects. The Jaywalker campaign tried to manage that vulnerability by scaring us off the road.
And the placebo button manages it by tricking us into feeling powerful while we wait.
It's all a negotiation. Every time you cross the street, you're taking part in this social contract that's been rewritten for a century.
You trade your freedom of movement for a guarantee of safety. You wait, and in return, the machines don't run you over.
Usually.
Ideally. And that's why the button, placebo or not, is so potent. It's the physical act of opting into that contract. You press it to say, I'm here, I'm holding up my end, now you hold up yours.
I don't think I'll ever see a crosswalk the same way again. It's not just paint. It's a battlefield, a psychology experiment, and a test of patience all rolled into one.
Definitely a test of patience.
So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with a final thought. We've uncovered the Jaywalker propaganda, we've seen the neon hand of 1952, and we've learned the truth about the button you press every day.
A well-intentioned lie.
Right. So my question for you is this. If that crosswalk button is often just an illusion of control to keep you calm, where else is that happening in your life?
That's a scary question.
Think about the closed door button on an elevator, or the thermostat in your office. How many of the levers you pull every day are actually connected to anything? Or are they just there to make you feel in charge while the real system does its thing?
It makes you want to check the wiring on your own reality.
And next time you're at that corner, go ahead and press the button. It might not change the light, but at least now you know the game you're playing.
Thank you for joining us for this day in His story. May the lessons of yesterday inspire you to see God's hand today and to play your part in His story now. For more faith-based learning, visit ahsworldwide.org, the homeschool for faith and family.